How's it going, everyone? My name is Shizukira, and today we're going to go through everything you need to know to get started in Etheria Restart. Before we hop too much into the specifics, one thing to note is that the way this game differs from a lot of the other more popular gachas around right now is that this game has a very heavy PvP focus and not so much of a PvE focus. There is a lot of PvE things to do. We have union battles, we have PvE events, we have multiple PvE bosses, and also to be able to do PvP, typically you want to have multiple teams built to farm PvE efficiently. So some of the units I recommend are going to be really good for pushing the story very early, but won't necessarily be good later on in PvP. Whereas when you look at what a lot of units are good down the line, people are going to be talking more about the strong PvP units and not so much PvE units. To give you an idea of what I mean, let's take a look at 3 units, starting with Heinrich. Heinrich is a unit that lots of people really like, and a big part of that is because he is good everywhere. Every PvE boss, every PvP situation, Heinrich is just an incredibly strong unit. Meanwhile, a unit like Lilith is really good, but it's not for what she provides in PvE, it's mostly to do with what she provides in PvP. And on the opposite side of that is Kloss, a unit you might not hear a lot of people talk about, and the reason for that is because she isn't that good in PvP. So while you might bring her for your farming stages, the real end game against other players isn't really where Kloss is going to shine. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's go over the first things to do once you get into the menu out of the tutorial. As with every gacha game you start, first thing you want to do, come to the settings tab, go down to other, redeem code, and on screen I'm going to put some of the codes that are currently available for you to get gems and start pulling. Now, speaking of summoning, let's go over to the summon tab and take a look at how the gacha works. Now, the gacha in this game is going to function a little differently to what some people are used to, so let's break them down. First, we need to talk about the 2 different types of units. There are Original Animus and Apex Animus. So what are the differences between the two? Well, Original Animus will have one of the 3 basic typings. Those 3 typings are Hollow, Odd, and Reason, otherwise just known as Green, Blue, and Red. Meanwhile, Apex Animus are either going to be Disorder or Constant, otherwise known as Dark and Light, being purple and yellow. Right now, generally speaking, the Light and Dark units stand above the rest, and a big part of this is because the way they interact with the elemental system. You can think of this as a fire, water, grass kind of system, where Light and Dark sit outside of that. So they're not stronger against any of the 3 basic elements, but they're also not weak against any of the 3 basic elements, allowing you to bring them to essentially any farming stage. Another thing to note is the cost of these 2 banners. So, the current rate up banner, as well as the standard pool, will use these purple pools as the currency. On the other hand, the light and dark banner, which I'll refer to it from now on, as well as the standard light and dark banner, use these gold pools, which unlike the purple, which are 100 crystals, these are 300 crystals per pool. Because of that, the general consensus at the moment is to save your crystals for the light and dark banner and to use all of your purple pools on the standard banner. Do not use your crystals on this banner unless you really want the current rate up. Otherwise, you're better off saving them for the light and dark banner because it's much more expensive, the characters are much more universal, and the pools for them are much harder to get without spending crystals on them. What I recommend, and the way that I will be pulling on release, is pulling on the permanent summon until you get an SSR. After that, based on whichever SSR I get, I will then go to the selector banner that will be available, which isn't currently here because I've already pulled on it, and picking out a unit that synergizes well with the one I got off of the permanent summon. Another reason to pull on the permanent summon is because on rate up banners, not only is there no 50/50, you cannot get any other SSR outside of the rate up SSR that is on the banner. So if you don't want Freya and you want to start building out your roster, pulling on Freya will not build your roster. You will need to pull on the permanent summon to be able to get one of the many characters that are in the game. Along with that, Freya is also on this banner, so if you don't mind getting Freya, she is here too. Now, some really strong 4-star units you really want to be looking out for earlier on. Gray is a free unit that everyone is going to get when they start the game, and he is absolutely amazing, especially for pushing the story. Even against red stages, you're bringing him for the 30% crit rate that he provides to everyone, as well as the defense down that he applies to all enemies for 2 turns. Sanya is a really good early support to try and get as well. Part of that is in her passive, which provides a lot of constant healing, but the big part is the revive that she has on a 3-turn cooldown, and increasing turn meter. Increasing turn meter is essentially advancing forward in this game, and speed is everything. Whether it's PvE or PvP, speed is super important in this game. You'll find a lot of the stronger characters are characters that take extra turns, or that increase their turn meter, or increase everyone else's turn meter. Dinah also going to be a really strong support to build up early on, especially if you are planning to build Leon for a long time, which is something I would recommend doing, especially because of the challenges, which we will get onto later. Now, reasons Dinah is good. One of her abilities provides a defense down if they already have that, which is provided by Gray. They have vulnerable, and if they already have that, they have erosion, which, long story short, is just a lot of extra damage. She also has a damage boost that she provides, as well as the ability to steal turn meter, which means it not only makes her faster, but makes enemies slower. And as we just mentioned, speed is really important, and she both adds it to herself and takes it from the enemy. 2 more units really worth looking out for. One of them is going to be Marvel, and you can read here, you can already kind of see why he's so strong. Obviously, he has a silence, which is going to make it so that enemies can't cast their bigger skills, but also he has turn meter down for the enemy, also decreases effect resist, and he's able to steal turn meter for himself. So again, really strong unit, and the fact that he fits into constant is going to make him really useful. And the last one, and honestly probably the best of the 5, is Chiaki the Echo. This unit for an SR is ridiculous. Not only do they have a Purify, which is another buff that's really valuable, but they have the ability to give the entire team turn meter, give the entire team attack up, and if they already have it, which they will because she will be providing it, both of these skills can also provide her with the Ave Maria buff, which is going to make them immune to steal turn meter and turn meter down, and increase your team's turn meter further. So just a lot of speed changing, as well as a Purify to make sure your team aren't getting debuffed. As far as a 4-star unit goes, this one is one you definitely want to be investing in. Now, when it comes to team building, you have 4-person teams and 5-person teams. 5-person teams, generally speaking, are going to be whatever your 4-person team is, plus an extra unit. And the way your 4-person team is going to be built is typically going to consist of at least 1 DPS, 1 buffer, 1 debuffer, and whatever else you need in the last slot. Now, for some people, that's going to be bringing along a healer, someone like Ling Luo, someone like Dorothy, maybe even someone like Sanya as well. But in this game, generally speaking, you don't need a healer, especially early on. So what you'll see in a lot of teams is that they actually run double support or double debuff using someone who has more of a healing ability. An example of that is Beyontin. Beyontin is someone who brings a revive with them. Or Ling Luo. While you do bring Ling Luo because she's able to heal really well, she also brings a ton of support capabilities, extending the duration of your teammates' buffs. A unit like Freya is also really useful because she applies a debuff that when a unit deals damage to an enemy, they heal themselves based off of that damage. So if you're playing earlier stages, or you just have a team that is really fast and really powerful, you can often forego bringing a dedicated healing unit in favor of bringing someone that provides more damage, or a bit of support and a bit of healing. And again, when it comes to your 5-person squad, you might consider adding on a healer, or you might consider adding on a second DPS, another buffer, another debuffer. It really depends on what your team is and what you want to be using. But generally speaking, 1 DPS, 1 buff, 1 debuff, and fill that 4th and 5th slot with whatever's missing. So, you've redeemed your codes, you've hit the gacha a little bit, you've put together your first team. What do you do now? First thing you should be doing, push the story as much as you can. The story is going to be the thing that holds you back when it comes to certain farming stages, which will require you to clear certain chapters. One of the things that are going to be important to farm that we'll get to in a moment is character XP, since that can be quite hard to come by. And the character XP stages are locked behind the story stages, so make sure you're doing the story. Now, the story in this game isn't that bad. I enjoy it quite a bit, but if you want to skip through the entire story, you can. You can always revisit these stories later to experience the story if you wanted to go back and see it. Something that's nice as well is that in this game, when you're farming, you can farm in the background, and while that's going on, you can be doing the story at the same time. We'll go into how that works in just a moment, but just know that is a thing you can do. So with that said, how should you be spending your stamina? Well, over here in the challenge tab, we have all the different things that can be farmed. Now, we're not going to go over limited events because we'll do that in another video that is specific to the patch we're on. This is more of a general guide that even 6 months down the line will be relevant. So these daily challenges are where you're going to be spending most of your stamina, if not all of it, on a day-to-day basis. To give a quick TLDR as to what all of these are, Grim Pursuit, this is where you get companions that will have their own skills in combat, as well as provide some points towards your gear buffs. Threshold is your module drops. This is where you're going to be getting your gear, your headpieces, your tubes, your relics, all of it. Moving on from that is Investigation. This is where you're going to be farming character EXP, very straightforward. And lastly is GP Outpost, your prowess material. This is what you're going to be doing to be able to level up your character's skills. Now, in order of importance, especially early on when you're trying to push the story and you're trying to get to max level, Animus EXP is going to be the most important thing, followed by prowess materials, followed by shell drops, followed by module drops. Now, the reason for that order is because Animus XP is going to be hard to come by and you're going to need a lot of it. And leveling up your characters for those guaranteed stat increases is going to be really, really important, at least up to 5 stars level 40. After that, the prowess material, because leveling up skills again is more guaranteed power that we're going to be looking for. Next is going to be shell drop, and you're not going to spend a lot of time here, especially while you're still collecting these earlier shells. So you'll be in here a couple times to get some shells, maybe to get a couple copies of them to ascend them, but overall you're not going to be here too much. And then lastly is module drop. You don't want to be here for as long as you can avoid it. Farming gear when you're not at the much later levels getting the best gear there is going to be kind of a waste of time. And a lot of the XP that you invest into these earlier relics is going to be lost when you destroy them. You do retain around 80% of the XP, but if you didn't level them in the first place, you would have 100% of it. There are times where you will need to level them, and there are times where you will need to come here and farm. But if you can avoid it, generally you want to. Now, 2 things to keep in mind. Firstly, make sure you do all your first time clears. So if we go into prowess material, we go here, you'll see that you have possible drops and you have your first time clear drops. This is going to give you a couple guaranteed drops as well as some currency for the gacha. So across everything in the game, whenever there is a first time reward, you want to get those first time rewards. We will also get a lot of days where there are double drops on these various farming stages, and you want to be farming on those days. When there is a day with double Animus EXP, you just want to drop all your stamina into that. Refresh your stamina once or twice with Hydro Crystals, and farm as much Animus EXP as you can. And the same goes for when we have prowess drops. You can also kind of do it for module drops, but again, you don't want to go crazy unless you're at the highest tier of modules, in which case, farm to your heart's content. And it's a similar thing for shell drops. Generally on double shell drop, you don't really care to farm anything, but if you are at those later stages, definitely look to farm shell drops as well. As for the trial challenges, these are less farming stages and more just other things that can be done to gain rewards. For example, in Anisync Echoes, you're not farming these are one-time battles you're doing for their rewards, and then moving on. These also don't cost any stamina, so make sure every now and again you come in here and try to push through as many of these bosses as you can. Now, before we move on, I will just quickly show you how you farm in the background in this game. So we're going to go into any farming stage we want to do. In this case, we're going to do INV 16, and we're going to go to continuous battle and set how many we want to do. You want to 3-star stages because 3-starring a stage allows you to do more runs in the background. So in 1-star, you can only do 5 continuous battle, at 2-star, 8 continuous battle, and at 3-star, 10 continuous battle. So we're just going to set this all the way to 10 and start battle. Okay, so now we're in the battle screen. I have my team set up and ready to go. We're just going to hit battle and this icon in the top right. Now you can see here we have this 1 out of 10. This is going to be farming in the background. We can stop the battle early if we want to. We can return to the battle to see what's going on. And while that's going on, we're free to navigate through all the menus and do whatever we'd like to do. If you want to push the story during this time, this is a great time to do it. Now, the next thing you want to put your stamina towards is if you go into this menu up here, and we go to Hyperlink Charter. This is where you're going to have challenges that you can do, and you want to be pushing these as much as possible. The reason you want to level Lian so much is because in Animus's Fate, it is all about leveling Lian and getting a ton of awards for it. And Lian is a very, very strong unit. I definitely recommend building her. A team with Lian and Gray, you put Dinah in there and any third unit you want, it will get you through a ton of the content, especially early on. You will be a bit weak in some of the blue stages, but switch out Lian for a green DPS and you're good to go again. We also have stages for shell tuning. So again, following this is going to help you learn how to upgrade your shells. We also have a similar one for modules. Keep in mind, when it comes to farming and leveling modules, if you are leveling them for the sake of these challenges, that is good. For example, in Module Star 2, it requires you to fully equip 3 SSR Animus with level 9 modules. Generally speaking, you don't want to take your modules to level 9 at such a low rarity if you can avoid it, but for the sake of completing this challenge, it is worth it. We also have Commission Chronicles, which again will ask you to farm stages that you might not necessarily want to farm at the moment, but if it is for the sake of the challenge, you should definitely be doing it. For example, Hard Shadow Runner. I have no need to be running 5 more Hard Shadow Runners, but I should do it for the challenge, and if I had the stamina I would, but for the sake of this I'm farming XP at the moment. So we've spoken a lot about farming for your characters. Now let's actually break down how the different parts of your character come together to make them stronger. First, obviously the details page tells you your stats, tells you your additions, tells you what your different skills do. This is just information. Here is also where you will upgrade your level. Now, keep in mind, when you start up a character, it will reset that character to level 1. However, don't look at it as going back to level 1 because they don't lose their stats when that happens. A 5-star at level 1 is stronger than a 4-star at level 40. You can almost look at it as being level 41 at that point. Now, when it comes to upgrading the stars of your character, once you get them to the max level for that amount of stars, you will unlock the Star Upgrade tab. In this tab, you will then consume these various resources to start up characters. You will use blue to take them to 3 stars, purple to take them to 4 stars, gold or orange to take them to 5 stars, and finally red to take them to 6 stars. Now, the good thing with Shadow Prints is that these can actually be converted up. Now, in this case, I do happen to have more than enough orange Shadow Prints to start the character, so we'll do that now. This is going to increase the level cap to 45 and reset them back to level 1. Now, whenever you start up a character, the amount of XP they will take gets much, much bigger, which is why you want to farm so much XP, because we have a lot of materials here and it's only taking them to level 15. And that's not even at 6 stars yet. Now, as mentioned before, I've just started up my Freya and I will still take her into battles because even at level 1, she still has the stats from when she was a 4-star level 40. Now, even if you don't have enough Shadow Prints, we do have the craft menu down here where you can convert lower rarity Shadow Prints into higher rarity ones. Blue will convert up to purple at a rate of 3:1 and purple up to orange at a rate of 4:1. So here we would need 15 blues to make another 5 purples, and then we can use those 12 purples to make 3 orange, giving us the 4 that we need. And then from there, we could add all and star up Beyonton to 5 stars. Now, generally speaking, I wouldn't take any units to 6-star too early on, outside of Lian for the challenge. Now, generally speaking, taking a unit to 5 stars is fine, but taking them to 6 is quite a bit of a commitment. You want to make sure it's a unit that you do really, really want to use, and that is really, really strong. Now, Lian is a strong unit, but you also want to do it for the sake of the challenge. Whereas, for example, I'm not using Rosa at the moment, though she is a really good unit, but I wouldn't make her a priority to take to 6 stars since she's not someone I use on my team. The same is true for a lot of 4 stars, so taking 4 stars to 5 stars is going to be really good, but you might not necessarily want to take them to 6 stars. You could see Grey as an exception, and Chiaki the Echo is definitely an exception. But generally speaking, taking units to 5 stars and maxing them out to 45 is going to be a good idea. 6 stars is a bit of a bigger commitment for later on. That being said, make sure you don't neglect your 4 stars. Again, early in the video, we went over some 4 stars that are really worth building, so do not sleep on them. And that gets even more important when we talk about prowess. Now, one thing to quickly get out of the way. When you come to prowess, this middle one here is your character dupes. Character dupes in this game are not worth it for anybody. There is not a single character worth getting dupes for in this game. Why? The first and third dupes are always going to be plus 5% to all basic stats. The last one will always be they deal 10% more damage and they take 10% less damage. The second and fourth will be buffs that are relevant to those characters. So here we have Grey, who gets effect accuracy and crit rate. On Lian, we're going to get crit rate and crit damage. On Beyontin, we're going to get healing done and effect resist. These are all very small, very minor buffs, but on top of that, these are disabled in PvP. So if you're playing the actual end game of this game being PvP, these will do nothing for you. And if you're only playing PvE, you do not need these buffs at all. So I would highly advise against pulling for duplicates in this game. When you get a character, you get the character, not 80% of the kit, not 85% of the kit, you get the entire character ready to go out the box. In prowess, we also have the 3 skills. Now the reason it's good to level up 4-star units is because of this tab here. So as you level skills, you're going to be consuming these anima imprints, where we have 1 for each damage type. As we get further into leveling, we will start needing purple rarity, and as we get a little bit further, we will need gold rarity for that last minor upgrade. For these major upgrades, we will also require lattice. Now, lattice can be very, very hard to come by. You can get it as some of the first time bonuses, you get some from challenges, you get some from the various shops. But because of that, it's really worth leveling up your 4-star characters, because these ones are going to use purple lattice, which are much easier to come by and much cheaper in the shops and in bigger quantity. So early on, it's going to be very worth investing in 4 stars, and as you start to build up more of the SSR lattice, then you can start incorporating more SSRs into your team. Next, let's take a look at modules. This is the gear system of the game. Now, matrices are your gear sets, and keep in mind that your shell will contribute to these. So in this situation, my Tamamodoji is going to provide 3 onslaught and 3 cure to my module sets, which is why I have 5 cure here. I'm getting 2 from this piece, and I'm getting 3 from the shell. And then the same for onslaught here. I'm getting 13 of that, 3 is coming from the shell, and the other 10 is coming from the 5 pieces here that each carry 2 onslaught on them. Now, early on, you just want to put things that make sense onto your characters. Do not take them to level 15 like I have here. This is just me messing around leveling them up because this is still before the game has come out yet. These accounts are going to be wiped anyway. And also, for the sake of challenges, you might be required to take things to level 15. But do not make a habit out of this. You will spend a lot of currency very, very quickly, and it's not worth it because all of these will get scrapped. Now, we won't go into too much detail about how to build characters, but to simplify it, your first piece will always have flat attack on your main stat, your second piece always flat health, your third piece always flat defense. Pieces 4, 5, and 6 are the same set of pieces. So there isn't really 6 pieces in this game so much as there is 4. You have your mask, your transistor, your wrist wheel, and then 3 cores. Now, these cores can have a lot of different things for their main stat. You can come to the bottom left and click on attributes, and you can see here this is all the main stats they can have, and all the substats they can have, which is the same, but you can also have speed, which is not an available main stat. Generally, for DPS, people tend to go with attack bonus, crit rate, and crit damage on the main stat, but whatever works best for you. While you're leveling, you might not always have access to this, so don't worry about it too much. This is much more for later game character building. Lastly, let's talk about the shell. So the shell is a companion that your character brings with you into battle. They provide points towards your matrix, and they have their own ability. In the case of Tamamo, Before the owner takes action, increase their attack by 600 for 2 turns, and you can see up here, this is going to have a 4-turn cooldown. On top of that, you can level them up, and they have a similar system to characters, where you get them to max level, at which point you can consume duplicates of that shell to be able to ascend them, send them back to level 1, and then you increase their level again to the new level cap. When you do that, you will also unlock these passive effects. Now, don't worry too much about re-rolling these passive effects early on. They're nice to have, sure, but you will burn through materials if you aren't careful with it. One thing to note is that if you want to reconfigure a skill, and you don't like the new skill that you've gotten, you can abandon it. You will not get your points refunded, but you will keep the original skill that you have. You can see up here, this is the different skills they can have, and this is the different rarities they can roll at. They then have a different set of skills for their passive slot too, as well as those ratios as well. Now, with shells, much like modules, we're not going to worry too much about farming them early on, but later game, you're going to be looking up character builds and guides on what are the best shells, what are the best modules, and that is something that we will cover at a later point, but not quite the scope of this video. Now, 2 more things we're going to look at. First, we're going to take a look at unions, then we're going to take a look at shops. Also, our farming is complete. Now we can just exit battle, and we have a lot of rewards. So, you want to make sure you join an active union. Now this one, again, it's before the game's release, so I made my own with only me, just so I could take a look around. When the game comes out, you definitely want to join a full union with people who play actively. Why? Now first, when you check in, you can see here, if 5 members check in, you'll unlock the next stage reward. You want to make sure people are logging in every single day so that you can get all the extra rewards. This will also allow you to get more currency that you can spend in the union shop, which we'll come to in just a minute. Now, weekly quests are something that are going to be done by the entire squad, not just you. So you can see here that you have your personal reward as well as union rewards. This is going to help level up the union, which is going to be more resources for you, more resources for everyone else involved, and it's going to help you get a much faster head start than anyone who isn't in one. Another reason to join unions is this Union Assistance tab. Now, while dupes aren't super important in this game, if you can get them, why not? So what this allows you to do is put a character up that you want to wish for. In this case, we will throw in Freya. And now people can submit tokens that match the elemental type of the character, and every day you can receive a character shard. Once you get 50, which will take just under a month and a half, you can then turn in those 50 shards for a duplicate of the character. And you can submit tokens to yourself as well, so you're really just looking for 3 other people who are willing to put a token on your character. These are earned just by checking in and doing various challenges. This isn't a limited resource that people are really going to be fighting for. Next, we have Anchor Recon. So Anchor Recon is going to be the Union boss. Every day, it's going to cycle what the first boss is, and if you are able to defeat them, you will be able to clear the second and third bosses. The way this works is you'll challenge the boss, and you'll try to take down as many health bars as possible. I'll put footage on screen now of me fighting one yesterday. Bear in mind, you can challenge this boss as many times as you want, but only your highest score will actually be submitted. So feel free to grind it out a couple times, see how well you can do. It's not going to cost you any kind of token, it's not going to cost you any stamina. It is free to attempt as many times as you want. This will reset every day, so make sure you are doing this. Again, you want to be in a union full of active players because you will all contribute to taking down these bosses and getting those rewards. And last thing worth noting in the unions is we do have United Front, which is going to be kind of a union war PvP between guilds kind of game mode, but that's not here yet. We will get it at some point, and when it happens, I will let you guys know more about it, but all we know for now is that it is a game mode that will exist. Now, to transitions talking about shops, we will start with the Union shop. Now, we're just going to very quickly go through how to get the currencies and where to spend them. So, in the Union shop, a lot of useful things here. Now, all the shops you are in, any way you can get the gold summons or the SSR lattice, those will be priority. So in this case, we can get perfect lattice fragments, which upon getting 50 of them, we can craft one, and we can get 3 of these a week. So you want to be looking to get these every single week. After that, you're going to be looking to grab the anima prototypes. These are the purple summons. This is just going to help you get more pulls, and it's going to help you build out your roster a lot more. In this game, generally speaking, you're looking for a wider variety of characters rather than hyper investing into one or two main units. After you've picked up the perfect lattice fragments and the purple summons, I would recommend the red Shadow Prince and the orange Shadow Prince. If you're able to get all those and still have leftover currency, then you can look towards the SR Lattice and the purple Shadow Prince, though the purple Shadow Prince will be more important since those can actually be converted up, whereas Lattice has no conversion, at least currently. Next is the Summon Shop, and this is going to be resetting every month. You can get Lian dupes from here if you really want, but I would recommend against it. Ideally, you want to be picking up the SSR Lattice, the red Shadow Prince, the orange Shadow Prince, and the Anima Prototype pulls. Again, you can go for purple Shadow Prince and SR Lattice if you want to. Next is the Arena Shop. We have two. We have Etheria, which is going to be your player versus a player's AI, and Summit Arena, which is the RTA player versus player all in real time. Again, Etheria, we're looking to grab Perfect Lattice, and we're looking to grab Orange Shadow Prince. Pick up the Anima Prototype if you can, pick up the Evolution Lattice if you want to. In Summit Arena, again, once you're high enough rank to grab the Perfect Lattice Fragments, go ahead and grab those, as well as the Apex Prototype. These are the gold summons you definitely want to be picking up. Then we also have Orange Shadow Prince and Anima Prototype that are definitely worth grabbing. Lastly, in the Anima Shop, this is where you are going to be getting dupes for characters. You have your SSRs and your SRs. Now, you're not going to find yourself in here very often, but when you are, just grab dupes for whoever your favorite character is or your most used character. You don't really need to think too much about it. Again, dupes in this game are not crazy useful. They don't even work in PvP, so kind of get whatever you want here. Now, in the Hyperlink Shop, most of this is going to be paid. However, there are a few things that aren't. So, over here, we have a free weekly pack that you can pick up. In the value section, there's also a new aid gift if you haven't picked that one up already. Another thing worth looking at in the weekly pack is picking up the Crystal Supply 1 and Crystal Supply 2. Now, the reason for this is because not only are you going to get pulls and some currency, but this is at a cheaper rate than it normally would be. So 5 gold pulls would normally run you about 1500 crystals, and 10 purple pulls would be 1000 crystals. So you're saving by buying these. Make sure you come and grab these every single week. Crystal Trade is just going to be your top up. Remember to spend responsibly, not going to give anything for this. And lastly, monthly supply card. Again, these usually tend to be really worth in games, so feel free to pick these up if you'd like to, but again, spend responsibly, spend what you have, not what you don't. So with that, that is going to bring us to the end of the beginner's guide. So to give a quick TLDR over everything we've gone over, do not spend crystals on purple summons, save those for these gold summons, and only pull on purple with the free tickets that you get given, unless there's a character that you really want. Make sure you are pushing the story. If you hit the level for the next story chapter, do it as soon as possible. Once you've done that, you're going to come over to the challenge tab, and you're going to spend your stamina here primarily early on for Animus XP and Prowess material. As you get to late game, you're looking more at module drops and shell drops. Remember while you're doing this as well, to come into the menu to your hyperlink charter, and make sure you are clearing out these challenges for even more extra rewards. Some, like completing Terramation, are going to require you to spend stamina, so just keep that in mind before you spend it all for the day. And also one thing that we didn't touch on too much is we will have events going on all the time. Make sure you're doing these events, clearing them out, getting your rewards from there as well, though that should be quite obvious at this point, especially if this isn't your first gacha. And above all else, have fun playing the game. These games are meant to be played to have fun. If you're not having fun, you feel like the game is asking too much from you, you don't want to log into your dailies, you feel like you need to spend money, then don't play these games. It's perfectly fine. But make sure you are enjoying the game above everything else. When you start worrying too much about what's meta, what's the best thing to clear, what is the fastest way to do this, you just get too lost inside of it all, and it can really kill your enjoyment. This is a game that doesn't require a lot from you. It's not asking you to do anything ridiculous. It's not a super hard game. Maybe in PvP, once you get to the higher ranks, you're looking at matches that are going to be a bit more difficult. But as far as the PvE goes, and especially the earlier PvP, the game isn't asking you to do anything crazy, it's just asking you to give it a chance. So, with that being said, enjoy. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. I'll also be streaming if you want to come and hang out and ask me anything there, and I'll see you all in the next one. Ciao.